It is. Whoops. What is going on here? There. It is Tuesday. We are obviously live. It is Trekland HQ, as you can see. Yep, there's Plushy McCoy back there. Yes. And we are live. Are you going to let Star Trek grow up? Episode 324 today of, yes, Trekland Tuesdays live with me, Dr. Trek, Larry Nemechek, coming at you right here from the heart of Trekland through Portal 47 and Trekland Treks for some clarity, sanity, and the big picture in all things Star Trek. And a welcome for another Tuesday live here with us again. A lot of you, more and more people are coming in on YouTube. Glad to see you. It's a super chat YouTube. So remember, if you feel like agreeing with what you're getting here from Dr. Trek on the Trekland point of view, a little bit of cash and coinage is always appreciated. That's what super chats are for. Thank you for helping us keep this going free, this part of Trekland media anyway. And yes, hey, thanks to everybody at Facebook and Twitch too. Just a reminder that if you're on Facebook, you're only going to see the chat from Facebook. Twitch and YouTube, you see it all. And of course, if you're new to Trekland Tuesdays Live, there's a primer. I'm Dr. Trek. I'm going to talk about today's theme today, get off on a little soapbox. Then we'll take a short break, not really a break, but then we'll come back. I will look very briefly at the paired analytics as seen through the TV Geek website now, the latest ones. And then I'll dive into the chat. So I'm not going to ignore the chat. I will back scroll. I know I'm weird. I'm probably the only one in YouTubedom that does this that way, but that's just the way I've always wanted to do it because I wanted to start off and talk about our topic today. And as I do so, hopefully the weather's great where you are. It's starting to cool a little bit. We're hitting fall. We've got Star Trek on the air in all ways. I'm going to talk about that today. And with better weather, maybe people are out moving around. Maybe you're going places. And if you are coming to LA, maybe it's time to think about having a Trekland Trek with us. It's a customized away today. It's a day tour. 4 places. You pick it out with me in advance. I help you do everything. TreklandTreks.com. Check it out when you get a second. There's over 50 places now in greater Los Angeles to go that were actual film sites from some part of Star Trek, from the original series through to Picard, season 1 and 2, and even a touch of 3. All right. That's going on. We've got Lower Decks unspooling every week. I'm thinking it's pretty much hitting a high bar, watching everybody talk about that. I will talk about Lower Decks as I've done every week on a second opinion, Dr. Trek's Second Opinion. That'll be out sometime Friday or Saturday. So take a look at that. You know, after the dust settles, everybody races to be the first with their little review show. And that's cool. But when the dust is settled, come around and check out what Dr. Trek's Second Opinion is later on this week. You can go see the ones if you haven't. You can see for Lower Decks so far. Or go back and check out Picard and Strange New World. No. The other part of the equation, which this just continues to slay me, is the reaction to the very short treks. And I guess part of what this is like, it's been a whole 7 years now since people had to get over, what is this streaming thing? And what is this serialized thing? And cartoon Star Trek, what is that? Much less comedy Star Trek, what is that? And even a few people that came along the last few years that said, standalone Star Trek, what is that like? Okay. We're pioneering once again. So, yeah, and, you know, if you want to sound off in the chat, go ahead. I will catch it. But if you want to hold off until we hit it later on, that's fine, too. And say hello. While I'm talking, feel free to have some chats. Give us the weather report. Check in on the accent or drawl or regional dialect of your language, because we do have folks from around the world. Just saying. It's an awesome part of our TTL community, you'll see. But, yeah. Very short treks. It was a little confusing, I admit, when they first announced. people didn't quite get it. It was as much about, Doug Jones is going to be voicing Saru and Jonathan Frakes is going to be. People didn't understand what that was. It kind of flew under the radar until we got to Star Trek Day. Actually, the day before Star Trek Day, the Friday the 8th, and Skin a Cat. And the reactions went all over the place. And it was confusing. I don't feel like it was the most detailed setup for anything. Of course, there's a little bit of vagueness, a little bit of wonderment, but it was a new thing and people didn't get it. And I've mentioned it here before. People are upset that it's not canon, or they just don't understand how it works, just like they didn't understand how streaming worked at the beginning. And then a lot of people totally get that it's supposed to be comedy. They just don't like the humor. And now we've had 2 down, and there's a slight different vibe. The first one is just absurdist. It's off the wall. It's forget Saturday Night Live. It's Adult Swim, right? It's out there. The second one was more Saturday Night Live, a holiday party. There's a different vibe. Of course, the whole thing is to celebrate 50 years of animation, to honor the animated series, but not just be limited by it, and go back to that Filmation style. And it's been cute to see more modern characters adapted to that style. Now, if you remember the trailer, we're going to have the Lower Decks folks. Noel Wells is down as one of the voices, Devon Attendee. So you watch that. There's a shot of the Lower Deckers in what looks like to be the DS9 Cardassian style holosuites. Whether it's on DS9 or not, we'll see. But it's definitely that angular with all the big circular emitters showing. It's definitely a Cardassian style holosuite. So we're going to get the animateds in there. Now, don't look for Prodigy, because, Prodigy is dead to the marketing sales side of, not to the creative side, but to the sales and marketing side that have to promote things. If there's no home, it has no promotional side. So, and if that promotional home is not Paramount Plus, there's nothing to say about Prodigy. So meanwhile, the actual modern animation that's still standing, at least in Paramount Plus's eyes, is part of the celebration too. And there's what, 5 weeks? That said, this discussion goes on, this debate goes on, this critique fest goes on. And some of my best friends with shows are talking about, they're comparing the aspects and comparing, Skin a Cat with Holiday Party. And I don't know, it's just what it is, I'm looking forward. The 4th episode is Aaron Waltke's. I'm looking forward to that one. But the bottom line is, people are talking about the tone. People are talking about the animation is obviously meant to be Filmation-ish. So, okay, that's fine. That's cool. But the first thing I noticed is I wanted to see who was writing, who was directing. There are no credits. A couple of these are points I've mentioned in passing, but I wanted to focus on it this week. There's no credits associated with these. So that says to me, either these aren't counted in any kind of, as much as is at stake right now, animation that's covered for the most part here under the tag, the Animation Guild, which is kind of I hate to say, the work and the quality and the professionalism is not second rate, but the structural bureaucracy of the industry and who they're recognizing as unions, because TAG, the Animation Guild, wants to be, as they always did. Thank you, Uncle Walt, for making your animation writers second class. They are fighting to regain the gains that SAG, who has many animation writers and a lot of overlap. There are a lot of SAG people who are also TAG. It depends on the show they work for. And there's movement afoot to merge those, much like AFTRA and SAG merged. The New York-based announcers and performers merged with the more LA-based one. Anyway, we finally had SAG after merge. Maybe we can get TAG merged into WGA. And just as a union side note, the Marvel visual effects in-house team just voted to unionize with IATSE, in the IATSE Visual Effects Guild that covers visual effects folks. So we'll see. We'll keep an eye on that. But back here, I was curious about the credits. I don't think these apply to the formula. which then someone had to point out, the original press release for Very Short Treks, cute name, got a lot of expectations raised with that name. The little hand scribbled very might have been a clue, but the original press release says promotional pieces. What's a promotional piece? It's a commercial. It's a commercial, and therein lies the rub. Now, these may be very expensive commercials. Why say that? You can have a car on top of a cliff. You can have explosions. You can run up the price on it. You can pay for huge guest stars, live action in the face guest stars. You can run up the budget on a commercial big time. I'm just saying that in this realm is a promotional piece, as a commercial for the whole Star Trek, the whole Star Trek franchise through the eyes of a 50th anniversary animated series. They're basically glorified commercials. Now, back in the day, animation used to be, you could remember all kinds of great, glorious animated cartoons, some of them done by Burt Ward, some of them done by animators that you know and love, Chuck Jones. The heyday of animated cartoons of commercials was probably the 50s and 60s. There are some amazing animated cartoons. How many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? Talk about longevity. And of course, they're honoring the animated series and the 50th anniversary. And basically what this boiled down to is there's a strike going on. Live action faces are a dearth. You had the God-sent gift in a strike year of animation not being touched and the 50th anniversary of TAS. So that explains the huge lean in. And yeah, they timed it with Star Trek Day. It's also during the run of Lower Decks. What could be better timing? So I get the whole setup for this. And somebody wanted to, and we could track down, we know. But there was the thought about leaning into the funkier side. And this is what I just have to tell my Star Trek brethren. I've heard several people say, this is just like a Saturday Night Live skit. This is just like a Saturday Night Live skit. Well, plenty of Saturday Night Live skits are not near this boundary pushing, this absurdist, this, Python on steroids. But that's the point. It is just like a really well done or a really off the rails, or sometimes, like all good art, you go for it and you miss, but you take the risk. And if some of the humor doesn't land in whatever tone these take, and again, we've only seen that the next one's tomorrow, if the tone of these don't hit with everybody, then that's part of the risk. And I'm going to see, we already seen a difference in tone between the first two. And much less trying to read subtextual messages into into a skin of cat getting off on calling out snowflakes and oversensitivity and a generational divide. And I don't, whoa. The big picture of all this is just, what are they? Number one, they're not meant to be canon. As much as I was disturbed by the trouble with Edward and then wondered what to do with the little Tribble cereal commercial at the end. And I know Memory Alpha got right in there. And now that's the thing. I want to have everything recorded, cataloged, sorted. Ultimately, though, what do we call it? The same way people seem to be hung up on the fact, well, the Mirror Universe isn't canon. Oh, well, it's Mirror Universe canon. You need to keep consistency within the Mirror Universe or the Kelvin Universe. It's Kelvin Universe canon. You need to be consistent within the Kelvin Universe. How do things work? Who was born? Who was died? Where were they? What happened? Who's blown up? Who still exists? If you're in a universe, in that world-built universe, then whatever happens there happens there. Log that, catalog that, write it down, and keep track of it. That's all canon is. Write it down and keep track of it. And then tag it so you can go back and find it. So you can compare and contrast. Now, if you want to compare and contrast the Mirror Universe, the Kelvin Universe, the Klingon War Universe from Enterprise, whatever, the Doctor's, multi-universe perspective on that planet in the Delta Quadrant from his backup copy. Whatever you're doing, write it down and tag it now. But don't pretend everything is apples to apples. You've got apples to oranges, to bananas, to grapes. And you can do that on a level. That's what the Tribble cereal commercial was. I don't know, maybe that's an adjacent mirror universe in between the mirror universe and Prime where they kill Tribbles for cereal. I mean, but it's absurdism. It's a comedy. No, it's not a Saturday Night Live sketch. That's what I mean, it's not like a Saturday Night Live sketch. It is. But this is my point. When I say, are you going to let Star Trek grow up? Why is this so mind-boggling to everyone? Why is Very Short Trek so mind-boggling? It's a compliment. No, they're not Prime canon. They're going to be crazy. I mean, maybe some of the later ones could be, and then you're going to get into, well, what is and what isn't. They're parody. They are satire. They are poking fun. Yes, the way a Saturday Night Live sketch would be. Yes, the way something on Robot Chicken would be. They're not meant to be canon storytelling. Then someone says, well, why do they exist? Why are they taking up space on my screen? Why are they taking space up in my brain if they're not canon? A, it's a commercial. It's promotional. And B, it's a compliment. Yes, we have Robot Chicken, and we've got In Living Color, and we have Carol Burnett, and we have Saturday Night Live. We have had absurdist Star Trek for decades. It's a compliment. It means you've arrived. Now, is it make a difference that rather than having Lorne Michaels, Saturday Night Live, or any other platform, Mad Magazine, for God's sake, during the original series? Is it somehow wrong that rather than a third party do the parody satire thing, that in-house is doing it for their own ends, i.e. promote the series? Why should they be left out of the fun? Why should they not be able to take cut rate advantage on writers, on voice fees for their own actors? Many of them probably doing the job when they were in-house filming last. Who knows how long? I mean, I want to get into how long these have been in the works, and maybe it's out there already. But let Star Trek grow up is my message. We've actually been making fun of Star Trek for ages. Look at the commercials. The Shatner, the Nimoy, the Shatner fighting the Gorn, the AT&T cast commercial, the original series cast with Frakes jumping in at the end. I mean, people have gently or more less than gently poked fun at Star Trek for ages. The fact that it's just the makers doing it seems to either be the confusion factor or what nobody is stopping to think about. We've had the material. The fact that there's branding on it is what's throwing everybody, whether they subconsciously realize this or not, or consciously realize it or not. So is that a bad thing? That's what this is all about. Is it a bad thing that you didn't let strangers make the fun? Is it bad that is there some rule that you can't do this in-house? Now, Star Trek is one of the granddaddy franchises in the whole world of us talking about franchises. I mean, I'm sure when there were Tarzan sequels in the 30s, I don't know if people thought about the Tarzan franchise or not in those terms. Star Trek, when the reruns took off, and I remembered reading in TV Guide Teletype, where Nick Mancuso at Paramount talked about Star Trek being Paramount's family jewels. That's kind of the first time I remember here, but then I was a kid. So I don't know about the conceptualizing of a franchise and what to do or not to do about it. And you know what? I'm not telling anybody what you can think. Everybody is welcome to their own opinion. I just think the framing of this whole thing, people get so down the rabbit hole about what, and even when people begrudgingly said, oh, Saru is in the wrong uniform. Ha ha ha. It's a takeoff on the animated series accidentally getting wrong uniform colors. Well, that was more than a uniform color. That was over the top. If you're going to make a mistake, let's totally intricately draw and repaint the wrong uniform here for Saru versus everyone else. But that's what the frame here is are you going to let this nearly 60 technically years old next year with the making of the cage in 64, technically bearing down on 60-year-old franchise not take its rightful place about being parodied and satirized? Or are you just upset that the makers have allowed themselves a little space? They're not pushing it out as I mean, hey, we got there close. We just did a musical. We just did a crossover animated live action setup. And to most people, they were hugely praised. So no, Star Trek is not taking itself too seriously. We've even had hijinks episodes, some better than others. Taking and riding that whole Vulcan straight man thing. And of course, that's what Holiday Party was about. This seems to be an evolution, but again, before you get too knickered up at a twist here, there are no credits. Now, eventually the credits will be out and are coming out. I think the credits reflect more about the deal. Again, the deal about residuals than anything else. You got to pay to one time. Not that people didn't get paid. They better have. But about the return, okay? These are like 2-minute shorts. But I think the way they're viewed, yeah, they're supposed to be promotional. And here's the bottom line. Of course, they're telling the Star Trek audience. They're promoting it. They launched them on Star Trek Day. But did it ever occur to you that maybe these aren't meant for me? They're not meant for you? Or maybe we're welcome to the party, but maybe the point is this is an invitation to everybody else. I know this is shocking, but there's a wide world out there that have never seen real Star Trek or done more than sampled it or walked through the room when somebody else in the family was watching or not get caught up in your grandma, uncle, dad's, nieces, grandsons, roommates, whatever. Not get caught up that way yet. This might be for everybody else who is, well, flipping channels, swiping up, whatever, that might stop and wonder, what the fuck is this? If it's kind of crazy, if it seems to be, if you linger on something for that 5 or 10 seconds, maybe we'll draw some folks in. It's not harming canon. They're promotional. I've watched people with mental gymnastics feeling like their whole professional amateur Star Trek life depends on this. No, I want them cataloged, just like I want the Tribbles cereal commercial cataloged. But do I think in real life that there are people sitting in the 23rd century eating Tribbles cereal out of a cardboard box? I mean, if your sense of, if your canon box, if your frame is such that it just breaks your brain to think about it not being because it's on screen with a CBS Paramount brand on it, then make it somebody's holodeck. Somebody's holosuite holodeck fan fiction. Their absurdist fan hollow. Does that help? Does that help? I mean, I get it that everybody wants to have everything put in a nice, neat little box. Okay? Maybe that's all it is. If it's on screen and says Paramount CBS on it, it's got to be something for real. Hey, I empathize. I go down this rat hole in a lot of ways. I just don't have a problem with this. They're obviously there's not screwheads and butt aliens running around the galaxy. I mean, maybe there is. But to look so humanoid and then look like creations of human anatomy and human hardware development, the screwhead, I just put them up as absurdist art. You know, just like a melting clock. Just like something that's not realistic. And okay, maybe it's somebody's experimentation in hollow form. Not the people we see on screen, but a third person who's just playing with it. Yeah, I'd like to know the credits. I'd like to be able to talk about this intelligently later on I want all those characters tagged. I'd like to know who the voices are. I'd like to remember some of the lines and quotes because they're hysterical. Or they went for it and it's not funny. Or person A has a very straight ahead sense of humor. Person B has a very sick, twisted sense of humor. And they, just like anything else, are going to have a different take on the humor. That's all fine. And you can have the big debate about, okay, their promotion, their commercials. Is this the best way to promote the 50th anniversary? Is this the best creative choice? That's a discussion. Is this the best way to get mundanes to cross over and watch Star Trek using animation? Animation, which may be much less threatening to overwhelm viewers than Star Trek live action. Oh my God, it's 800 hours. I'll never catch up with it, right? Animation can be insidious. So we're just now scratching the surface of this. I think all 5 need to come out. We need to see the range and the tone, and then let the dust settle on this. I wondered at first, after this blew up, should I be doing a second opinion about the very short treks, the whole 2 minutes of them? I feel like it's almost what I'm doing right now is the bigger picture, not what individually happens. But you know what? I may do a second opinion and look at them as a whole once they're all out in the wild. But until then, I'm just going to watch them. Another one will be out in less than 24 hours. Next week is Aaron's, the holosuite all the way down, I believe. So that's what I'm going to do. I guess meanwhile, I'm just going to watch this entire gamut of regular Star Trek punditry, the YouTubers and the podcasts collectively lose their shit over things, or else just have a meltdown, or just a brain freeze over what to do with it, what to do, how to box this up, what frame to put this on. Well, I know what frame to put on it. It's just something new and different. Again, are you going to let Star Trek grow up? Are you really going to let it be nearly 60 years old to the point where the makers get to have fun with it as much as everybody out there that no one seems to have a problem with? The nature, the idea of doing it. You may think, oh, that Saturday Night Live skit was not nearly as good as the original. Patrick in shorts, the Love Boat Star Trek mashup was hysterical, except for that one moment. The Kevin Nealon one was horrible. Of course, the original with Belushi and Aykroyd, that was hysterical. I mean, we can do that. You can do that with this. But for their right to exist and be made by CBS Paramount seems to be an amazing difficulty that people have trouble with. I can't believe little bits and pieces talk about this, and I just can't believe that, short of the whole batch of them being out now, that this is a thing to talk about. But that's it. What it is what's different about this than the other parodies and satires, and is that okay? Why is this different in so many people's minds? And are we not going to let the parents have a date night and have a... Are we not going to let the parents go have fun? I think they're entitled. I might disagree with where they took their date, or out of 5 places, I may like 3 of them and not like 2 of them. But I'm not going to tell the parents they can't have a date night and go have some fun with their kid's idea. I don't know. It's a free country. It's a big galaxy, Mr. Scott. And everybody's going to have their own opinion. I'm not going to tell anybody what to think. I just felt like putting that out there. So we'll see. I hope this title wasn't misleading. Are you going to let Star Trek grow up? Because at the bottom line, that's what it seemed like to me. Why should Star Trek go through life with a rod up its ass? Because not that it hasn't since day one. The Carol Burnett sketch with Leonard in his Spock outfit and the Mad magazine were both in the day, and there were probably others in the 60s. So, from square one. Star Trek's been out there and not taking itself too seriously in the right ways, in the right channels. And there's times when I'm just amazed at its own fandom having such a difficult time with that. Anyway, there you go. I can't wait to see if I've stirred up anything here now today. So thank you for letting me do that. Hang on, we're going to take a short break. We're gonna wrap up. And look, if you're here for chat and answers and questions, get them in early. I'll back scroll quicker than usual because we're trying to get our arms around having more of a 1 hour time frame on everything. So I want to get out of this, but I do want to thank, of course, the folks who are helping do this every week and say you can join them. So thank you in our TTL club, our Patreon folk, Diana Hopkins, Robin Wilson, Lawrence Todd, Anne-Marie Siegel, Justin Porteous, Galinda Bruton, Chris Jiggins, Pranakasha Productions, Comedy Forecast, and Andrew Jasimski. And our live wires, that's our $10 folks a month. It's simple, gang. Yeah. So thank you, Robert McLean, Byron Bailey, J.R. Poole, Halbjörn Gunnjonsson, Alan Hohensi, Dave Gregory, Tobias Rex, Danya S. Runyon, and Casey Shafsky. I almost got choked up on you there, Don. Thank you guys so much, guys and gals and peeps. And if you're curious about this, we're getting down, midway of the month. Once a month, Patreon takes it out. Patreon.com/Trekland Live is mine. $5 and $10. I keep it on a simple level. You can add in more if you appreciate what we do. What the Trekland and what Dr. Trek's point of view is all about. As I say, we try to not be the same you get everywhere else online. There's plenty of them. Lots of them are my friends. I don't mean the rest of them are my enemies. The YouTube world is ever expanding, and it's hard to keep up with everybody around the globe. But there you go. We're also still in hiatus on the Trek Files, but you can still check out. There are 10 seasons. That's, 240 episodes, 15-20 minutes. Real Star Trek professionals and or Trek adjacent folk like family. Cut it, pick it out. Some folks have left us. Richard Arnold, Dorothy Fontana. I was realizing somebody else. Anyway, there's a whole catalog there, and we have the documents. Podcast.roddenberry.com. The documents are at facebook.com/the Trek Files. That's it. Now, look, I'm still going to be around here, but I'm going to be going away for the later folk on YouTube. So if you are going away, remember you can catch me on X, Twitter. Soon it may be XX if Elon keeps up. Larry Nemechek there and the other tweet-like sites. Larry Nemechek's Trekland. Yeah. Here on YouTube. Like and subscribe it, please, before you go. Also, Facebook and Instagram's fun. Portal47.net is where the action is. That is our mini-con all year long. That is my business of bringing backstage folks and memories and insights and documents to our Portales community. Won't you join us? That's the best way to get in and support things, Trekland. So, yes, if you're leaving us right now on YouTube, everybody else stick around. But if you are leaving us on YouTube, please, we'll see you next Tuesday. Try to join us live if you can. 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. UK time, 10 p.m. Central Europe. We are global, and you'll see that reflected in the chat. But if you miss us, feel free to leave a comment. Please do, and check out everything else at Trekland, would you? All right. I mean, I'm talking about Second Opinion. I'm talking about Cadet Alice and Dr. Trek Watch Prodigy. And if you are leaving us right now, please stay healthy, do all the things. And please stay woke, check your sources. It's going to get thicker and thicker and thicker out there. And trek well. All righty. Hey, live folk, don't go anywhere. I'm going to back scroll. I want to be real quick because the parrots have kind of devolved. I'm just going to show you because we've had Lower Decks out for 3 weeks now, going on 4. 404, the 4th episode of season 4, drops tomorrow night. I'm working on my Second Opinion right now. But just to say, if you're curious about how things are going. Lower Decks in the US, it's very up to down depending on when they drop. People flock in to look at the updates. There was a spike on September 10th, which was Sunday. Is Sunday when people sit down to watch Lower Decks? I don't know. Or talk about it. Remember, this is talking about. This is the online activity. And then it plummets by Tuesday. A week ago was the low point, and then it climbs back, and then we're back. So it's kind of weird. I'm looking at the US number trend line here, but it is still in the outstanding. The outstanding means that it's in that upper 2.5%. So no, that's it. They're not the animations never do as well as the live action shows do. So we'll see. I was curious to see if there was any kind of bump associated with very short treks. I mean, ultimately that may be artistically judging them, but at the same time, what are they doing on the business side? Are they really promoting the animated franchise, not just the animated series as old reruns to go watch on Paramount Plus, but are they bringing new eyeballs to Lower Decks? Are they adding anything to hashtag Save Star Trek Prodigy? That's too early to say. It's just sad that the animated shows all have a lower audience. Maybe it's inevitable. Maybe there's just so much overcoming that whole stigma about animation being less than and Saturday morning and cheap and not effective. And lots of Star Trek fans still not having the clue that Lower Decks and Prodigy are very much canon. They're very much adding to pieces that when you're watching a live action show later, you'll go, I don't remember that. It's because it was part of a Prodigy or part of a Lower Decks. It may not be a historical event. It may be a feature of Orion culture. Maybe even someday Tellarite culture. Oh my God, perish the thought. I'm going to start in here. We are going to have about a half hour or so of chat questions. And remember, again, we are now super chat on YouTube. It's always great if you can throw a little silver our way. That's what it's set up to do. Otherwise, I'm going to be, I love actual questions. I'll prioritize the super chats, but I will actually look for real questions overall. See, Sean, you got the right idea, Sean. Like, subscribe, name your firstborn son after Larry. Most importantly, take a life insurance policy naming Larry as the beneficiary. And if you're new to us on Tuesday, I'll try to give you a shout out. Hey, Don Ranger Power. I think it's been a while. I know you've been with us before. Oh, look, JR, thank you so much. I know, I feel like I'm the guy with the guitar with the open guitar case on the street when I do that. But, throw it when you do a super chat. Thank you. But throw out a question, do something. Make me sing for my supper, I guess I should say. Dan, why does this not surprise me? Very Short Treks is turning out to be your favorite modern Star Trek series. There you go. So what's number 2? What's your favorite old series? I've forgotten. Let's see. Sean, you always come in. I guess this is your thing, huh? What was Hugh Borg's designation? Hey, you. No, I'm kidding. Well, it's a special day, isn't it, Glenn? So glad you could make it. Yay. This is the thing, Carl. I hear you. Don't mind the animation or that VST is not even canon. Just haven't found them really funny. But your 11-year-old laughed out loud at the end of the first. So is animation's ultimate goal to pull in anybody under 15? Then it did its job. Then mission accomplished, right? Yes. The guy that did Too Many Cooks is doing those. So there's your clue, right? Oh no, I've lost my place. I've lost my Dadgummit. I've lost my thing. Hold on just a second. Just a second. Boop, 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 boop. I'm trying to find. Hello, live TV. I am trying to find. Because if you saw the trailer, you know there's more things coming. Now, I think you keep seeing Jonathan as Riker and seeing him with his trombone. I think Aaron has teased that that's part of his. Yeah. So, yeah, we've got the 5. So you're right. Casper Kelly is the Too Many Cooks guy, but he didn't write all of these. He wrote Skin a Cat. We've seen people. The other thing is if you scan, and of course, if they're new to Star Trek, you don't know to be following their socials, their Twitter or their especially Instagram. But that's how Aaron came out and talked about holograms all the way down. So he has the penultimate one. End of the month on the 27th. This week's is called Worst Contact. So there's one with the lower deckers, or at least Tendi, because Noel, say Noel Neal. There's one for you. Noel Wells for Tendi. And we're still waiting on George to be in one of these, a Sulu. So Connor is going to be, see, one of these, I think the hologram, this is why I'm thinking that maybe these random ones, are you really going to have a Trip isolated by himself without anybody else from his cast? Are you really going to have Riker isolated with no one else from his cast? I'm almost guessing that somebody is going in to create, as we saw on Prodigy. Oh, who wrote that one? Didn't Aaron write? Didn't Aaron write Kobayashi, where Dal is conjuring up? He's playing the Kobayashi Maru with known characters, and he conjures up Odo and Uhura and Scotty and Spock and Dr. Crusher. I'm just saying. Pay attention. Yes. So Casper Kelly didn't do all of them, is my point here. So they can be. I need to go over and check out the comic that's going on. Star Trek The Animated Celebration presents the Scheimer Barrier. Scheimer being Lou Scheimer and Norm Prescott, the two rotating owners of Filmation that you saw at the end of every TAS. But yes, Danny, I think you've been with us, Danny, before, but thank you for that. Hello. Boom. Thank you for that comment. You're very correct here. And again, is this supposed to be mass appeal to the Star Trek audience, or is this trying to maybe snag a few new people, convince them that Star Trek is cool again, and then they can eventually get it? Of course it's cool. Sometimes you got to roll with the flow, and sometimes that 60 years of canons in your bag is a big intimidator factor. Analysis, Holiday Party was dark. Still don't like the Lord Dex promotions. The Lord Dex, but to the sales and marketing side that have to promote. Yeah. Oh, Lower Decks promotions. Okay. Let's see. Oh, JR, how did you miss Holiday Party? It's been up there all this time. Christoph, Holiday Party was just rude. Skin of Cats is a Kobayashi Maru written on the deck. See, the bottom line is that everybody is going to take away what you think anyway, which is what Star Trek's always been. It's just this uber meta level that I'm laughing about. Hey, Lawrence. Lawrence, hey, man. Good to have you with us. Animation's very well done. It is. Fitting tribute to TAS. Like Skin a Cat for its absurdity, but the Holiday Party just felt crass and didn't do anything for me. See? There you go. I totally agree, Danny. But we're looking at two different things. There is the type of humor, and then there is the where the hell do I put this on my Star Trek shelf? And I think those are two. I mean, it took a while. I think the first one, just like streaming 2 hours of Discovery, one on CBS and the second on some Phantom Zone. I literally had people, I was sitting in a panel expecting during season 1 of Discovery, expecting it to be all anti-Discovery. And the basic tone of the panel is, I don't know how to watch this. I watched the first hour and I wanted to see the second hour. I don't know how to do. I guess we'll never see this show. It's almost as stark as that paradigm shift, which is just weird to me until you try to get your arms around it. And maybe this is why. Maybe this is why. Same way as people had a hard time with streaming. Of course, it turns out that the writers had as hard a time with streaming Trek as the audience did. Well, analysis, just to go off the rails here a little bit, Boimler and T'Lyn would make a nice couple. Screw Trip and T'Pol. Yes, I saw Jesse's review too. I still think she was just taking it everything a little bit too seriously. But as far as the humor, yes, I totally get that. T'Lyn, oh my God, I hadn't thought of this, Carl. You are absolutely right. T'Lyn is the Daria. I love Daria, and I was way too old for the demographic. Daria made me feel like I could still be a college kid back when it was out. Because I was still so not as bad off as her dad. You're right. T'Lyn is the Daria of Star Trek. I love that. Thank you, Carl. I love that, love that, love that. Okay, Melanie. I guess I'll take your mom's note. You're allowed to stay. Wait, did I say Burt Ward? Yeah, Burt. Rocky and Bullwinkle. Who am I? Jay Ward. Sorry, Burt Ward. Burt Ward. Yes. No, I'm sorry. Jay Ward. Right. Rocky and Bullwinkle. George the Jungle. Yada yada. Yes. And well, thank you, Christoph. I didn't mention all the titles. Worst Contact, Holograms all the way down, and Walk Don't Run. I hope Walk Don't Run has the Ventures. Yeah, I figured that out. It's okay. Well, this is true, Linda. Let's just hope that next year. See, part of this is, let's say Prodigy's back. Let's say it's on Netflix or Hulu, wherever it winds up. It will be produced in conjunction with everything else. I specifically asked Aaron and the Hagemans this. I think they've said it in public interviews. The thing, the cleavage part here, the cleave will be, how will the promotion end of Paramount, the creative end of Star Trek and the franchise will, of course, always mention it, be referred to. But what is the nature of Star Trek Day? Let's just say one example. Is Star Trek Day to promote Star Trek, or is it to promote Paramount Plus Star Trek? Because if it's to promote Paramount Plus Star Trek, you won't see Prodigy. If it's to promote Star Trek, the franchise, then you would. And since they show all the legacy shows, it's not even about, of course, they're going to put the oomph on the current shows you're watching, but they'll never not include TOS, TAS, TNG, DS9, Voyager, and Enterprise. They won't ever not include them. The push will always be on what's new and fresh. That's the nature of promotion. And people complain, hey, you're not representing the... Well, Star Trek Day at its heart, the Star Trek Day that comes from the studio is going to be pushing the current new shows. My thing will be, where's the room for Prodigy in Star Trek Day from the studio? That's an interesting thing. That's since they went and done this, they're not synonymous. The Venn diagrams don't overlap. Now we have all Star Trek and Star Trek promoted on Paramount Plus, and there's a little tiny. I'm seeing Star Trek Prodigy through that little thing until things settle down and resolve. We'll see. I'm not even talking about as the currently the movies are all at P plus, but it feels like that's going to wobble all over the place until the big Uber merger things are resolved. Maria, hello to see you from Brazil. Glad that you could join us. Yay, yay, yay. Yes, Michael, I meant Jay Ward. At least I corrected myself before you had to do it. In my time, not in your time, but in my time, in my timeline. Yes. Oh yeah. Well, of course. I think millions of people now know about bearded Spock in the Mirror Universe thanks to South Park. I think the Mirror Spock goatee effect may be the second most Star Trek concept after the Amok Time fight music, known by total mundanes. It's the evil Spock. If it's in anything with a goatee, is the evil side. Yeah. This is true, JR. Super Bowl commercials are expensive. Right. Do we know how much the very short treks are? Just curious. Well, they're not 16.8 million. They're only 2 minutes. This is a good question. I'd like to know what the budget for a Prodigy and a Lower Decks is. That might be out there. That might be out there. Ethan Peck's voice acting approached Nimoy's. That's true. That's true. Of course, standing still in front of a mic and being able to concentrate does that. Does that. And hi, Tyro. We were talking about this earlier. This is it. Of course, it was a decision of Paramount Plus. It was a decision of Alex Kurtzman to go that direction. Now, if you want to distill this down to the creative choices and have a critic's discussion about that, that's totally germane. I mean, discussion about all this is germane, but let's just be clear about what it is we're talking about. And it goes back to the humor tone. You can talk about the whole direction of the upper level to go this direction and go out and hire somebody like a Casper Kelly. C.S. Lewis said the very nourishing of mindless things is itself childish. Yeah. Triple cereal is the only cereal you only have to buy once. Yeah. Well, there you go. It's an alternate universe thing with jig parallel thing to me. I think for now, anyway, I think I'm going to box it up as, and if let's say if somebody is looking at holodeck characters, I'm not going to say that it's that characters. I'm going to say that it's a third party in Trek canon doing it. We will see, depending on how it's done. Yeah. Hey, T-Row? Yeah. It's, yeah, that's the box to put it in. Now, whether you like that box, that's another thing, but that's, or you think that's a choice that's helpful for the greater Star Trek. If this is all about promotion, is that going to really be in places to bring eyeballs over? If it's on YouTube, then it's fair game. It might show up in all kinds of people's feeds, depending on how they tag it, how they meta tag it. Analysis. Very short treks is hated. Hate is such a strong word, but everyone loves Lower Decks. Why am I confused? They're the same thing. It's parody. They're not. Star Trek has been poking fun at Star Trek at least ever since the Trouble with Tribbles. Very true. But on what spectrum? This is pushing the envelope not literally. If there was a literal envelope in it, I would think that. If there was a file with a manila envelope in it. Well, I know. Apparently, Melanie, you have not been part of the 20-year discussion. Canon came to be the word used for everything that's been written down about what's been on film, so we can access things and have a thing to it. I don't think the word canon is in Bijo's concordance anywhere, nor in my concordances. Right. The Apocrypha of Star Trek. Well, Kelvin and Mirror, they're just their own books, I guess. If Prime Canon is the biggest book, and then Kelvin and Terran or Mirror. It's Mirror. Remember what Boimler called his Mirror Archer, Mirror. Is it self-deprecating or just another aspect of quality entertainment, Glenn? It could be both. It could be both. You're a Star Trek fan and you've been making jokes about Star Trek since you were 5. What was your first Star Trek joke? Analysis. Michael says it's not wrong for the parody to come from in family. It just feels a little ham-handed. Like when corporations first started doing social media and understood the tools but not the cultural nuance. Totally. That's why I want to see the range of the 5. Remember the range of pilot scripts commissioned for the original series, right? Oops, maybe we should have gone this direction, but it's new. So, yes, Duralta, there is Galaxy Quest, which is a parody, but also Galaxy Quest, we throw it out as a parody, but it has a heart to it. And it has character arcs for everyone as real people, right? Including the fans. I mean, the kids' parents never get a clue, but other than them, everybody else has a growth arc. Where are the credits to CST coming out? Maria, what do you mean CST? I'm not sure what you mean. Something Star Trek. Canon Star Trek? Help me out here. Not very short treks, not short treks, not... am I missing something? I'm feeling kind of stupid here. Sorry. The creators have every opportunity to make fun of their work, but it should just be done well. Well, there's that. Again, this is why I'm saying, let's see what happens. I have this idea somewhere that there's a whole chunk of audience who are just howling at Skin the Cat, but they're just not in our spaces. There's this is why I always say online Trek, convention Trek is not the majority of fandom. There's a great unwashed bunch, whether they are Gen Zs or what are they? Gen Zeros? Whether they're like 15, 18-year-olds that don't know they're supposed to be hanging out in our places, or they're people who are, in their 20s and 30s that don't know the same thing, and they've got their own. Anyway, I have a feeling there's a whole bunch of people that really appreciate the humor of Skin a Cat. They're just not hanging out with the rest of us. And I say that knowing that there's a huge fissure of hangouts now with all the YouTubers and podcasts out there. There's so many new ones coming up. I have no clue who the hosts are, and that's awesome. That's a sign of vitality. Sure wasn't happening 8 years ago. Yes, a Galaxy show in talks. Well, of course, the strikes have nixed everything like that. Nixed everything. If it can survive the strike hiatus and come back, and being made by Paramount, we will say. Did I try not to. Did I do it? Well, Duralta, this was what everybody thought about the Orville, right? Is it just going to be a fart joke every 2 seconds? Kind of started out there, but even the pilot of the Orville was way less than what I was expecting. I was like, okay, maybe. It's like I was so worried about Broken Bow, the Enterprise pilot. And I came away kind of going, if 4 days to Kronos is the worst thing about this, then okay. Did I ever get offered an extra role in Trek? No, I wasn't in Take Me Out to the Holosuite. I was out for 2 days on location interviewing people and doing color pieces that were in the magazine and on StarTrek.com. But no, I was an extra once, the finale of Enterprise, and I could have been an extra in the finale of DS9, and Ira asked me why I didn't, and I didn't even think about it at the time. Stupid me. And I wanted to be a Tellarite in the Coalition of Planets sequence in Terra Prime and Demons, and I was too late, so I got to be a civilian in the finale. I didn't push it, really. I should have more. Humor can be difficult. The Vulcans, androids, and Borg among us. There we go. Oh no, what did I miss? Did I miss? Was it me? Was it somebody else? Either way. Why? Well, this is the bottom line analysis. Why are there commercials? Why are there even commercials? Well, you have to think that people not everybody, especially humans, aren't telepathic. So if there's a new kind of serial file, see, that's why my thing about it all being a holodeck makes sense. I think the Tom Paris's or the Ortegases. By the way, if Tom Paris, no, you know what? It'd be the other way around. I think it's we think of it chronologically as production, but I think Melissa Navia, I think Ortega's is the best 20th century. She spouts 20th century phraseology all the time. And I think, rather than the other way around, I think she started a club for hotshot Starfleet pilots that lasts 100 years, and it's like a fraternity at Starfleet. And Tom Paris was part of that group. When you need a 20th centuryism or even a 21st centuryism, Ortegas is your hero for that. Carl, you're in my club. Thank you. And Rose, glad to have you with us. Oh, let's see. Let me see if where are we here? I'm gonna look for actual questions, guys. Yes, there's absolutely commercials in Star Trek. Of course, they're Ferengi, Sluggo Cola, Come to Quarks. Absolutely. Screwhead is more convincing to you than the dog alien any day. There you go. Michael, you could very well be right. They might have been rushed. I don't know. The whole thing about recording animation voices is not strike related, so that's not part of this, probably. Nor the writing. But yeah. Oh, Maria, you want me to do a second opinion on VST? Well, thank you for caring. Hope you are sharing. S-word snack. Hey, Stephen. Hey, Father. Shocked people care about the promos. I give them a light chuckle and go about your day. They deserve about as much thought as the Anson mount on Paramount Mountain and Dora the Explorer. Exactly. Or the old Nickelodeon TAS commercials where they would chop them up and be quasi, like watered down absurdist, but have fun, poke fun, do the mashup. Well, Nathaniel, this came out of left field, but okay. I'm sure you could probably find a few million or two people who would take that trip to a working set if you offered it, Star Trek or otherwise. As a pundit of science fiction, during your opinion on your channel is just that. The creator's opinion is more important than mine. Well, yours has value, but theirs is the one that's going to be on film. And your opinion may alter what comes down the line later. But yeah, I mean, it's the same as anything. Okay, Michael, but I'm not regretting that that's a high bar with Lower Decks. It's amazing. Amazing crossover. Yeah, why should the X-Men and the Turtles, Ninja Turtles, have all the fun? Dora the Explorer. The Explorer, obviously. Hi, Tigger Trekker. Are you new to us here on YouTube? But yay. Wait for them all to come out. Take their views into account to watch after the fact. Not enthused, and that's okay. Yeah, it's what it is. It not only may be a misfire or a hit, it could be all the above. Mm-hmm. They don't like it, they can eat a sock. What flavor sock? I'm kidding. There was probably more red shirt demise. Yeah, the whole thing with the guts hanging out, cartoon intestines hanging out of a cartoon cut body. Has Star Trek come a long way? I think you might mean 2023 there, Rose, but I get you. Okay. I know, Christoph. I know. I'm weaning. I had one show where we got to an hour. I was so vague with this title, I didn't know what kind of a turnout we'd have. Let's see. Yes. Okay, this is a thumbs up, Kyle, kind of, for holiday party-ish. Well, analysis, a documented history of reference material of a day book. I started to do this in the early 80s and then finally had to give up because it's almost like fan fiction and layer and tiers of canon. It's like, well, are we going to include all the official books, even though some of them are dogs and some of them are the classics? But then there are a lot of fan published. My shelf over here, I had back in the day, I had a lot of fan stuff that was good reference. That's what Fan Fiction Friday was, Nonfiction Friday was all about. God, not Fan Fiction Friday. You have moved on from Twitter to Blue Sky and Mastodon. Yes. Glenn, I'm so sorry your Facebook crashed. We'll see about the pushback on Elon, and I'm not paying for Twitter. It's sad because Twitter is my biggest base out of all the social medias. Why? I don't know. Probably because I do everything. But Sean, you're the biggest one pushing for a live notified time. I know. I hear you. You know, things might just be changing this year. We'll see. Yeah. Well, animated obviously costs a tenth of the live action. Okay. Yeah. Not all Orions are pirates. A slim, 2%. Here you go. A little advice on the bell. Zahir, I'm not sure I know what you mean. You have to watch an entire animated series to get the new live action series. We're talking about Star Wars. Okay. Is Renegade set the same as STC? No. Hey, bored dumb. Hello and welcome. And no, they're just in their not once you get past the basics of warp drive and ships. In fact, Renegades tried to run away as part of the fan film slowdown, tried to run away from being Star Trek at all. Ahsoka is going through some growing pains because a lot of the world building was in Rebels or Clone Wars, and many so-called fans have not watched them. I get it. Well, we could have that in Trek eventually. We'll see. Yes, I know, Rose. Well, if you want pure, there's a place, something called Chakotay, but it's not like Chakotay. If you just look up, name an Star Trek episode name, script, there are transcriptions, which are not scripts, but at least the word by word is there. That's a fast, cheap way to get it. Oh, there you go. He was third of 5. We never, heaven forbid, we get through the whole hour plus here and not get that down. Let's see. No, I didn't want to do that. Yes, Hugh was third of 5. Thank you for this. So we've got very short treks, then Prodigy, then the moderns, and your number 1 is TNG. There we go. Well, there you go, Kyle. Everything the Clone Wars Rebels fans ever wanted is Ahsoka. Dan, do I prefer Skin a Cat or Holiday Special, and why? I can tell they're different. I think I smiled a little more at Skin a Cat on the second watch, which will always be true because the first time is the first of anything, and you're like, I was really disturbed by the drunk scene, the first scene of Lower Decks, and it took me 2 watchings to realize that she's drunk, and that was even an exaggeration of the animation exaggeration. I don't know. To me, they're separate but equal so far. Maybe a little more Holiday Special just because it felt a little... I was rooting for Holiday Special because I knew so many people didn't like the humor of Skin a Cat, and it wasn't mine. I didn't dislike it, but it wasn't the most. Actually, I take that back. Skin a Cat I thought was fine. It just went on too long. And that's the thing. It wasn't the style of humor. It was the timing. And the whole joke about the phrase he said is represented by an alien that pops up. And then it's almost like Beverly and her warp bubble in Remember Me. Where are these people coming from? And then his whole long exaggerated thing to have somebody to use the pop-up system and have the female officer pop up at the end. I was like, okay. Well, you certainly went by Scranton to get to that one, as George Burns once told Gracie. Yeah, most of those actors that got a shout out will be on his. There you go. Thank you, Maria. You guys, the YouTube alerts are hit the bell. I think that's all you do. Hey, Glenn, any way the Chiodo brothers would take an interest in short treks? I see Potato Mitchell. I don't know. Ask them. Are they fans? It's either going to be fandom or money. One of the two. Oh. Duralta, before there was a movie, George the Jungle, with Brandon Fraser, it was a Saturday morning cartoon show, and it was the lead segment. The other 2 segments were Super Chicken and Tom Slick, the racer. And they all had great, especially the Super Chicken theme will outlast anything. Yeah. Oh, and there was a movie called The Flintstones. Before that, there was a cartoon that went for like 7 seasons. Primetime. Yeah, watch out for that tree. That's the theme song. Oh my goodness, Duralta, you just made me realize our work is never done. Okay. Very Short Treks is a walk down memory lane because when there were a finite number of stories for any series, these little comedy bits were things we clung to without hope. And there you go. Oh, yes, Stan, good for you. Futurama. David Goodman wrote that. That's how he got his job on Enterprise. because Brannon wanted to bring a little comedy to Enterprise. I know. But his proudest thing was North Star because he wanted to do a Western too. Yes, I watched it back in the day when it happened. And I found out that he was hired on Enterprise because of it. And I watched a lot of Futurama, but I didn't see every single Futurama episode. But the whole thing with the heads in the jars and all that. Yeah. Yep. And Welchie treating Star Trek fandom like a church in this one planet. Yes. Yeah, this would be one out of about 47 times the Amok Time fight theme has been used. People hear that and they have no idea it's from Star Trek until they sit on Star Trek. Oh, look, this show, Kirk and Spock fighting. They used that fight song. That was you sent that. Yeah, it was the 80s. What can I say? Stellar Cartography by me was mentioned as canon by Mariner. Stellar Cartography is a thing, you know. So anyway, we'll see. If somebody talks about where the Battle of Tyra is, anyway, I'm glad Fox is back. I guess Fox Network is back on streaming. Okay. Let's see how we're doing. Wrapping. Yeah, the Nomad. Well, see, Nomad winds up in the Section 31, archive too. So, but the original Nomad blew itself up. So these were study models made of Nomad to try to recreate it. That's my canon. And then it hung around. Well, this is the same time frame. Somebody at some point here, and then within the next 20 years stuck just listen to my second opinion. My second opinion, I talk about some of those things in the anomaly room. How stupid that is. Every starship has an anomaly. Anyway, that's a second opinion thing. Go over there and talk to me about it in the comments. Well, this is a thing, T-Row. Again, who are the people that are enjoying this, and are they hanging around in our spaces? Right. Want to go in and see the TikTok parodies of Skin a Cat. Well, aside from shaving the beard, T-Row, that's what acting is about. And I got to be a McCoy chestnut brown hair dye. This is true. Actually, when people talk about Nomad, they should say the No-Ru. What do we call Tan Mad or No-Ru? What do we call it, Melanie? But you're right. Nomad is the statue as it was shown in Picard season 2 at the gala at the museum as an exhibit. That was the original Nomad that Jackson Roykirk designed that was launched in 2002. Don't you remember it? Again, this is why I want to research this. It sure takes them. By the time it sits there for a year and a half or 2 hours, 2 years, it feels like it. I think Germany's had none. I know they have because my companion was translated into German, and I've got the German 2 editions of the German book. And one of them was an unlicensed one that they got in trouble over. The official publisher had an unlicensed author add a chapter before we updated it. Yes, indeed. Dan, I'll have to check this out. I don't distrust you. That's interesting. That's fascinating. Chakateya. Yes, that's the script place. Absolutely. Oh, well, then what the writers would normally do is they would take, this is why more things aren't mentioned and fans go, why didn't you just mention the so-and-so? Because the writers inherently err on the side of not confusing viewers. And if something actually gets dragged in from something else, they go to pains to support it. So that's a balancing act. It's just like doing a movie and having to balance between known factoids and confusing new eyeballs or scaring them off. It's a balancing act. It's a high wire act. But I get it. That's the ticket, laddie. Yeah, I wasn't happy with the whole sucking spider cow thing. It was like, but then it's like, okay, push, make the splash first, and then you can back off. Exactly. Oh, that's what I was talking about, Glenn. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Sometimes it's just the shock value of the new and the fresh. Moopsie is lower decks. Moopsie's canon. Moopsie has nothing to do with very short treks. I mean, it might eventually, but it's part of lower decks. Yes. Oh, I'd forgotten that yes. Brandon Fraser is a stupid cop flick. Dudley Do Right. Yes. Snidely Whiplash is, oh yeah, there's a Snidely Whiplash in the movie. Yes. Yes. And they worried about Star Trek being canceled forever. Ha ha. What now? No. Enterprise's episode North Star was David Goodman too. He'd always wanted to do a Western. Thank you, Christoph. We're going to wrap it up here pretty quick. I know it's no root and mad. Yeah. Hey, Oren, I'm glad you could make it. We're here at the very end of the show, but I'm glad you could drop by. Absolutely. Okay, auf Deutsch. Ich kann in der Übersetzung verloren. Übersetzung verloren. Yes, they're doing a Frasier reboot, but remember, it'll probably just be 8 episodes, 10 at the most. Probably like a Grace and Whitney. Oh boy. Yes, absolutely. Gang, I think we'll do that. Do you like the leaner, meaner? It feels like people are a little more focused in the chat questions, maybe. But before we go, just reminding you, check out Trek Files. No new episode this week. We're still on hiatus. We'll be back for season 11 here sometime in the next month or so. Until then, there's 10 years of catalog to go through. Thank you so much. Thanks once again, of course, to all our Patreons, our TTL Club, and the Live Wires. The difference is one's the $5 folks, one's the $10 folks. I appreciate you all so much. $10 for the Live Wires. I need to get another batch of early Portal 47 backstage interviews. Patreon.com/Trekland Live. That's it. It makes me, I look around the YouTubes and I'm so glad that more behind the scenesers are getting out. Now, part of that is actors don't want to talk right now. And I get it, but and I hope this keeps up, but I say 7 years of Portal 47. Hell, that's what I've tried to do for 20 years is shine the light on the backstage folks that bake the cake that the pretty icing of actors is put on. No cake, no icing, no show, no characters to bring you a personification of it all. So yay for that. But that's what Portal is all about. Trekland Live, treklandtreks.com is getting you to the site of your favorite treks in real life. The locations, not the sets. We let Star Trek Set Tour do that up in Ticonderoga with the original and soon the next gen. Now, this is the greater LA area. There's over 50 places, treklandtreks.com. I'd love to help you plan your trip with no surprises and then be your away team escort that day. Help you with your cosplay, with your whatever it is, your photos, whatever you're doing. And meanwhile, around Twitter and all the wannabe Twitter X's, it's Larry Nemechek gang. Larry Nemechek's Trekland. Please make sure you subscribe on the YouTube and share it, please, and hit the bell so you know. And yeah, Facebook, and also Instagram, portal47.net. It's where you can really jump in and have a backstage pass all year long. It is like a mini con all year long. Thanks again for joining us, everybody. Look for the next Second Opinion coming this week. I also have a Cadet Alice Watches Prodigy that I'm still getting released. That's coming soon. More news is going to be coming, gang, as we get into the fall. The WGA and the producers are set to talk tomorrow. Will something finally happen, or is this more posturing by the producers to see if they can split the guild up? I don't know. We will see. And this is the Writers Guild, not the actors. So we'll see what comes down the pike, as we say here. We'll see. We'll see. Meanwhile, everybody, until then, until I see you, or maybe even remember, I'm going to be at Starbase Indy over Thanksgiving Greater Weekend. So if you're in that upstate, lower Great Lakes area, maybe you can make it over to. It'd be a great way to spend your post-Thanksgiving Thursday weekend there in Indy with us. It's a wonderful, smaller size con, but it's growing, so you will not get trampled or stomped on or lost in the crowd. Be a great place to see Trek folks and be able to meet. So that's it for now. Until we cross paths here or somewhere down the line live or somewhere around LA. Until then, please, everybody, stay healthy. Do all the things, would you please? Things are spiking in little ways. People aren't dying, but it's still annoying, and we still don't know about the effects of long COVID. So there is that. Just take care of yourself. Take care of your mental state too, would you please? Stay woke, check the sources. And yeah, trek well, everybody.